My name is Thack, and I have a confession to make. I am a furry. Felt good. Felt good to finally get that off my chest. I've been harboring that for so long. I've been closeted furry for so many years, and now I can tell you people. Anyway, Thack from Thack Ironworks. Today, we are talking about fur and hair and sculpting that. I happen to be working on a project for a client, and I'm doing a Irish wolfhound, as you can see here. I'm also doing a couple of horse heads, and that got me thinking about, I did one approach on hair there, and I'm doing another one here, and I thought that might make a cool video, just to do a quick kind of overview of different styles or different strategies I use to do the stylized hair. So let's get into it. All right, let's start on the far end of the spectrum. Earlier this year, I did a sculpture of a bear, and for that, out of steel, I did this stylized fur design, and this is how I did it. I got these pieces made from my local laser cutter, and you can see it's basically a comb shape, quite an efficient use of steel here. So I would get these pieces made, and then they would get snipped apart, and I would texture out to give a little bit more fur-like appearance to it, and then put it in the forge and anneal the whole thing. Now what I'm going to do is I'll jump over to the Beverly shear here and snip these into little shingles. All right, so I've got my pieces cut. So essentially what I do is I start on the bottom, much like shingling a roof, and I would lay out my pieces, whatever your shape might happen to be, and then just start layering them up. And this is all getting MIG welded onto the wireframe of the sculpture as you go along, and just kind of doing it like that. And once you get a couple layers on there, actually I should mention, as I'm doing that, as each piece gets welded on, I just give it a kind of little S bend to each strand, which makes this a very labor intensive process, but it does really add a lot to the overall effect. Otherwise you have a very rigidly straight, and the pattern, it just doesn't quite read nicely. But as soon as you put this kind of little bit of wiggle in there, it has a much more organic, natural hair-like. So that works quite well. It's just very time consuming and uses a shitload of these things to actually cover any sort of surface area. But it makes for a very 3D, prickly sort of effect, and I'm hoping, Eric, you've got some footage of the bear in this camera. Maybe, I know we did it Instagram, it might be on the phone. We'll pull up something. I know we've got something for it, so we'll get that in the video here. Anyway, that is number one example. So this is a high relief of an Irish wolfhound, which is a pretty shaggy dog. So I needed to do something to give the effect of the fur. Also, I'm working on a bit of a budget, therefore timeline. You know, if you watch my videos, you know that I always use time as part of the equation in any sculpture. How much time do you have to achieve the desired effect? So based on that, this is what I came up with. Doing the fur on this took me about 2.5 hours, which is reasonable for the budget of this particular thing. I could have easily spent 5, 6, 8, 10 hours and did something much more detailed, but I think I've captured the effect here. And essentially what my strategy was to, once I've got the body pounded out with its highs and lows, you can see the flank here and the front elbow forelock, I don't know what that's called. And once I had all my highs and lows on the shape there, then I came in with Sharpie and just kind of started making lines of direction. And I did these kind of S shapes And once I've got a few of those in place to kind of give its pattern of direction, energy lines, whatever, then I start chiseling a few of those in, and then I would, after I've got one like this in, then I would come back and make tips and stuff like that and do little points and have ones that drop below and ones that come up above, and it's just a matter of kind of filling in the blanks after you've got your basic pattern started. But like I had these tufts coming off the back of the leg here, so that was some of my basic stuff to do that. Same thing on the back of the leg here, it's coming off there the way the tail comes off, but it basically is coming down and around here. This is swooping down but then comes forward here. So once you've established that, then you've got something that's going to lead the eye in the direction of the fur. So start chiseling those in and then fill in the blanks. I don't know if I'm making any sense here. I might have to do an example of that. Why don't we do that? So I'm just using a corner of the horse plate that I'm doing here, and I just made this little bulge here, some sort of organic animal sort of shape there could be. And then I've just melted some pitch into the back of it as my backer, and now what I'm going to do is start chiseling some lines. So I'm starting to connect the dots, if you will, and just trying to make a series of points that interlock into each other, weaving in and out with different highs and lows in some sort of organic pattern. What you don't want to do is have something that reads like a very distinct pattern. You want it to be very organic or random looking, but at the same time, it does have an overall general direction of the way fur grows or hair grows. Always has a bias that it's going into. So you're trying to create that overall pattern, but at the same time blur it up so that it doesn't look too mechanical. Hard to explain, even harder to try to even think it out. Sometimes it's better just to kind of zen your way through the whole thing and just kind of blur your eyes a bit and see what seems to be a believable sort of look. Something like that. I was going fairly quickly there, but you can see kind of it's something is being established there. These more interweaving that I would do there and trying to get different heights there as if these guys are weaving in and out of each other to kind of get a tangled, matted sort of hair look. Anyway, that's what I do, and that tends to give a pretty plausible looking hair. Let's move on to something else. All right, with my horse heads, I have little tufts of mane, but everything in the photographs is a jet straight hair. So this is going to be coming down like this. So typically what I start with then is just get some lines. This one's got the nice little devil horns, little tuft coming down here. So I've already got that kind of pronounced there. So what I'm going to do is simply make a bunch of lines. So we'll start with those, and then once those are established, go from there. Up to this point on this particular horse head, I have not used pitch as a backer. I'm getting close to the point where I've got my topography, highs and lows in the right spot that I can go in and do finer detail using a backer, but I don't typically do that until I get about 85% into the shape. With this hair or mane, I think I'll do the same thing where I'm going to work over this stake here, and I've got my sharp raising hammer, and I'm just going to start the grooves on that, and then I'll be moving to pitch afterwards. After I've roughed out the shape using the hammer, I can come in and actually balancing on my stake, use a chisel next to it to help sharpen up some lines here. So there I've got 3 chunky strands done. What I would do now is refine those a little bit more, anneal this thing, and then when I go to my first round of pitch where I fill this in with pitch, then I would do finer ones in between there to give more of a streaky, more hair, if you will, get more lines in there. But I've roughed out those. That gives me a starting point to work with. Moving on. Okay, the last fur technique I'm going to use is one I used for the deer head sculpture I did. That video was about 2 years ago. And I'm going to ask video guy Eric here to go back and see if he can pull out some footage of that one as well. But I'll just quickly demonstrate. Essentially, I did just a chiseled in pattern across the entire surface to help give that effect of fur. So it's just like a bunch of that sort of thing. And I just quite simply use this modified claw hammer here. And I've just got a bit of a chisel edge there, and then just working over appropriate stakes. Once I've got all my form to the right shape, I can get a backer on there. I'm, in essence, blanishing the surface using a knife edge, and that puts hundreds of little cuts into the surface. And I just have to make sure they flow in the right direction. Again, I put Sharpie lines on there over the entire body of what direction the fur is supposed to bias is supposed to be, and then just generally try to follow that. Seems kind of barbaric and crude, but it is fairly effective once it's done. It just gives the right, the way it catches the light, the right effect to emulate some sort of furish structure. So, there we have it. We're almost at the end of 2024 at the filming of this, and it was a very chaotic and hectic year here at Factory Ironworks. And we found we were really struggling to get videos out, and I don't know, once a month, once every 2 months. I've got some big projects that take a long time to do, and we're finding logistically they're kind of hard to get videos done, and then my business life has just kind of taken over, and we're trying to incorporate some actual commissions into the videos, but that can get tricky as well, just to be able to film it and do everything in a timely manner to catch. Anyway, it's a mess. So going forward into 2025, I'd like to do a couple of smaller technique videos like this. Let me know as a viewer what you're interested in seeing, and we're going to try to accommodate a few of the smaller technique things. I think a lot of my viewers really enjoy the long-term builds. I really like doing those videos, but you don't always catch the techniques on that. You're seeing kind of the expansive overall thing. So that's it for now. Hope you're having a great end of the year wherever you happen to be, and look forward to our upcoming exciting projects that we've got coming up. Well, in the new year, I'll announce a couple of them. In the meantime, subscribe, like, do all that good stuff. Try to help out my channel wherever you can, and I will see you in the future. Thanks for coming out. See ya.